a drug empire bigger than anything that Pablo Escobar and El Chapo ever built. A syndicate so powerful it supplied 70% of Asia's methamphetamine, earning $17 billion a year. And the man at the top? Not a Colombian warlord, not a Mexican cartel boss, but a quiet Chinese-Canadian immigrant who once lived in Toronto and worked in Kodak. His name was Tse Chi Lop, and for years he ran the world's most sophisticated drug organization. Buckle up. This is the unbelievable story of the Asian El Chapo. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a new episode of Past with a Punchline. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the story of Asian El Chapo and how his organization was earning more than $17 billion a year. In November 2016, at Yangon International Airport in Myanmar, a man called Hai Jingza was shuffled nervously before his flight. His eyes darted around and his hands were shaking. Security suspected him and they ended up stopping him. And when they searched his body, they discovered 80 grams of ketamine tapped to his thighs. On its own, it was just a small bust. But when police unlocked his phone, they found photos, videos, and hundreds of messages, one of which led directly to Tse Chi Lop, the hidden king of Asia's drug trade. The accidental arrest of just one low-level courier opened the case against the world's most wanted drug lord. To understand Tse, we need to go back a little bit. He was born in 1963 in Guangzhou, China, during Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution. It was a time of chaos, crime, famine, and political persecution. Families struggled to survive, and Tse grew up learning to adapt, to stay invisible, and to bend the rules. Skills that would serve him very well later on. In 1988, seeking a better life, Tse migrated to Canada with his fiancée and family. They settled in Toronto, where Tse appeared to be ordinary. He worked at Fujifilm and Kodak, just another young immigrant chasing stability. But beneath the surface, Tse was drawn to something darker. In Toronto, Tse joined Big Circle Boy, BSB, an offshoot of former Chinese Red Guards who had also fled Guangzhou. By the 1980s, the BSB were known for armed robberies, heroin trafficking, and human smuggling. At first, Tse was just another foot soldier. But unlike many gangsters, Tse thought like a businessman. He realized that the future in crime wasn't in chaotic stick-ups. It was in organized networks, fraud, and drugs. He convinced the BSB to expand into credit card fraud, identity theft, and smuggling operations, and building alliances instead of waging turf wars. His sharp mind and calm demeanor quickly elevated him within the underworld. Tse's big break came when he forged ties with the Risotto crime family, the Italian-Canadian mafia that controlled Montreal. The Risottos were powerful, but needed access to Asian heroin supply chains. Tse, with his Big Circle's connections, could provide exactly that. In exchange, the Italians offered distribution networks across Canada and the US. Together, they moved high-grade cocaine from Thailand's Golden Triangle into North America, hidden inside food shipments and electronics. The purity was unmatched, and profits skyrocketed. By the mid-1990s, Tse was no longer a small mobster. He was a global trafficker. In 1998, Tse's empire caught the attention of the US and Canadian authorities. After a joint investigation, he was arrested in Hong Kong and extradited to the United States. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison for trafficking heroin. But prison didn't weaken him. It transformed him. Inside, Tse studied other criminals, learned their methods, and formed powerful allies. Most importantly, he met Lee Chong-chak, a Hong Kong smuggler with deep connections in Southeast Asia. Together, they envisioned something bigger. Not just a gang, but a multinational drug corporation. When Tse was released in 2006, the drug market had changed a lot. Heroin demand was failing, and the new king was methamphetamine. Cheap to produce, highly addictive, and exploiting demand across Asia. Tse seized this opportunity. By 2011, he had relocated to China, strategically positioning himself near the Golden Triangle, the heart of Asia's drug trade. There, with Lee Chong-chak and other partners, he built a syndicate called Sam Gore, or the Company. Sam Gore wasn't just a gang, it was a criminal corporation with boardroom style and management. Tse united Asian triads, Japanese yakuza, Australian bike gangers, and Canadian criminals under one umbrella. He also ensured quality control. He enforced strict testing. Every batch of meth was checked for purity, making Sam Gore's drugs more reliable than competition. And if a shipment was seized, Tse replaced it free of charge, and this built trust amongst distributors. They also followed a high professionalism protocol. They used encrypted phones, blockchain, GPS tracking, and even corporate-style audits. By 2015, Sam Gore controlled 70% of Asia's meth market, with revenues up to $17 billion annually. Some estimates claim that this figure was up to $90 billion a year if you include heroin and other drugs. And Tse had become the Asian El Chapo. But unlike Escobar, he didn't crave fame or politics. He lived quietly, shuffling between Macau, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, always in designer's clothes and always discreet. Despite his enormous wealth, Tse wasn't flashy. He was a very careful man, always avoided social media, and rarely left a trace. But he did enjoy certain luxuries: gambling in Macau's casinos, private jets, and a circle of bodyguards. He was also rumored to have love for feng shui, and he believed that his empire was protected by spiritual balance. This mix of superstition and discipline kept him cautious, but not invisible. Authorities had been after him for years, but Sam Gore's structure made it nearly impossible. Instead of centralizing operations, Tse spread risk across multiple distributors, gangs, and countries. In 2016, the break finally came with the arrest of Hai Jingza at Yangon Airport. His phone revealed direct ties to Tse, and from there, Australian federal authorities launched Operation Kungur, coordinating with DEA, Interpol, and Asian agencies. For 5 years, they mapped Tse's network, tracked his movements, and prepared for the right moment. And in January 2021, the patience paid off. Dutch police arrested Tse at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport while trying to board a flight to Canada. Australia quickly requested his extradition, accusing him of flooding their country with meth. At the time, 7% of Australians were using meth, and most supply tracked back to Sam Gore. And for a man who once promised guaranteed deliveries to clients, the guarantee had finally ran out. With Tse's arrest, Sam Gore began to fracture. Without its leader, rival gang fought for territory. Some splintered off, while others collapsed. But the global meth trade did not stop. It simply became more chaotic, with smaller groups trying to fill the void that Tse left. Experts say that his downfall proves a pattern. Every cartel kingpin eventually falls, but demand for drugs never disappears. Tse Chi Lop's story is unlike Escobar or El Chapo. He didn't rely on violence and terror to maintain control. He built his empire on alliances, business discipline, and a corporate mindset. For years, he was the quiet mind behind the world's largest drug syndicate. To the public, he was invisible. To the law enforcement, he was untouchable. Until one nervous courier, sweating in Myanmar airport, exposed everything. And so, the man who built an empire even bigger than Escobar's, who partnered with the Italian mafias and ruled the Asian drug trade, was finally brought down. not by armies or betrayals, but by a single mistake at an airport checkpoint. This is the end of today's story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any more ideas for me to cover in the next episodes, leave it in the comments. Until next time.